من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد. أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين علي ولي الله صلوات الله. أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. حي على خير العمل. حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وبه نستعين. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. والحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء. تفرد بالأولية والقدم ووسم كل شيء ما عداه بالفناء والعدم. كما قال عز شأنه: كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه
وكل نفس ذائقة الموت وقال كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيعنا والذنوبنا والشفيع ذنوبنا مولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله الحكيم في كتابه المبين وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين صدق الله العلي العظيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد Mu'mineen, mu'minat, brothers and sisters in Islam and Iman, Salamun alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Some people ask, what is the purpose of a Jum'ah khutbah, or the two different khutbahs that happen on Fridays? You know, normally, in the beginning of the first one, they say, Usikum ibadallah bit-taqwa, that I advise you, O slaves or servants of Allah, towards taqwa. What we have in our books is that the split for the Jum'ah khutbahs is the first one is about reminding us towards being more God conscious, having more taqwa, remembering the kind of theological and theoretical parts of Islam, remembering God, His blessings, and things like that. And the second part normally deals with local issues, politics, community issues, things like that. So over and over again, week after week, we hear about this idea of having more taqwa, have more taqwa, be muttaqi. Now I'm sure all of you have some concept of taqwa in your mind. So my question to you is, what exactly do you understand of taqwa? What does taqwa actually mean to you? And those of you who know me, and have heard me speak before, know that I'm not a fan of translations. In fact, I hate them. Because every translation that you'll find for an Islamic concept, whether it's translation of Quran or a translation of a hadith, is always going to be somebody's tafsir. It will always be somebody's interpretation. And almost every time that they interpret it, they're going to water it down and filter it down somehow. So you're going to lose a lot of the original deep meaning. So look at the word taqwa itself. It's a Quranic concept, right? Now, if we jump just into the translations, the Quranic translations that are there, there's about 30 different ways that taqwa has been translated. So now you and I are not people who have Arabic as our first and primary language. And even those for whoever are Arabs and Arabic is their first and primary language, even for them, these kinds of concepts are very connected to more classical Arabic, not modern Arabic. So everyone has a problem understanding these ideas, right? So the only way we typically connect is through translations. So if you start looking through these different Quranic translations that are there, these are some of the translations for the word taqwa that you'll find. Be conscious, be mindful, be careful, be wary. Right? Different variations of this. But for about half of the English translations of the Quran that are available, about half of them use the word fear. Be fearful of God. Be afraid of God. Fear God. Words like this. And one of them was actually really, really strange that I found. It said, be God-fearing of God. I have no idea what the heck that means, but see, the problem is this. If you actually look into the books of akhlaq and philosophy, taqwa is never described as just being fear. It's a component, but it's not the whole thing. So if you were just to rely on some sort of translation, on somebody's interpretation, a weak one, a filtered one, then you and I will end up thinking that taqwa just means fear, and that's it, we're done. Now maybe, alhamdulillah, I'm sure many here are a bit more educated, a bit more interested in going deeper into some of these ideas. So maybe you've heard this kind of more contemporary explanation that taqwa means God consciousness. Okay, well, what does that mean? God consciousness. Oh, that means being conscious of God. Well, thank you very much. What do you mean be conscious of God? So we have to explain this a bit more. Now, one of the best ways that we can examine an Arabic concept, the same way that we did last night, is to look at its actual root letters, right? Because all Arabic grammar, all Arabic words and syntax is based on 3 to 4, sometimes 5 initial root letters, and then words are derived based on that. If you look at the classical meaning of how the word is formed, then you get a better sense of what really is that deep spiritual meaning behind that word. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So the root letters for the word taqwa are waw, qaf, and ya. So if you look at the simple past tense verb, waqaya, it means somebody who has been guarded, who is protecting, who's preserving something. And that's why sometimes, if you look in very rare translations of the Quran in English, one of them, when it talks about having taqwa or being muttaqi, it says, take Allah as a shield, which is a very interesting translation. There's other words that we can look at that come from the same roots, right? From waw, qaf, ya, waqaya. That might even give us a better understanding of what taqwa means. How many of you have heard of the concept of taqiyya? Okay, that means, I'm sure everybody here has heard of it. You're not raising your hands, that's okay. Unless you're doing taqiyya, that's fine. So taqiyya, we all know, is what? Is when a person, as the Quran says, as we heard the story before of Ammar and Sumayya, is that when you are fearful, Yasir and Sumayya, when you're fearful for your life, when something happens to you and you're under duress, when you're under stress, then you are allowed to hide some of your beliefs so that you can protect yourself. So what do we understand from this? You're in fear, therefore something now changes about you. You're in fear for your life, or your property, your wealth, your family, something, and then you change your behavior. You adapt to the situation. You say something different that you maybe do mean or don't mean. Right, so this is taqiyya. So take this now, connect it to taqwa. How can we attach these meanings? So how many of you have, maybe, I'm sure all of you have, you've taken your kids to somebody else's house, right? Now when you're at someone else's house, there's a different level of awareness that you have, right? So especially if you have young children, right? Toddlers or infants that are crawling around and moving around. So you go to your friend's house, they have some, let's say, nice dinnerware hanging out, they have some vases, right? They have some expensive things there. So obviously when you're there, out of respect for the guests, out of respect for you being the guest in somebody else's house, you're keeping an extra watch and an eye on your children, right? Because you don't want them walking around and breaking something or damaging something in your friend's house, right? So there's an initial fear that's in your mind. There's a fear that I don't want this property to be broken. I don't want my friend's feelings to be hurt. I don't want them to look at me badly. Right? I don't want to break off my relations with them. So you start off with a little bit of fear, and then what happens? Your awareness and your consciousness starts to change. Maybe in your own house, when you're with your kids, you let them play free, right? Which is, of course, the Islamic recommendation from 0 to 7. So maybe that's how you are in your own house. But in somebody else's house, you're a bit more apprehensive. So you're like, okay, I don't know if I can do this. So you switch on something else within you, right? You're more conscious, you're more aware. You're watching your child much more closely than before. And that's why we're much more likely to say to them as they're walking around, let's say next to a table, hey, be careful. If you send them outside to play, and let's say they're close to the street, what you'll say, be careful. Watch out. Why? Because there's initial fear in your mind, in your heart. You want to offer a reminder so that their awareness and their consciousness level changes and becomes greater and greater. This is what taqwa actually means. It starts from fear. Taqwa, the inception, the genesis, the start of taqwa is from fear. Now what is this kind of fear? If you fear damaging your body, if you fear damaging your soul, if you fear being punished in the grave, if you fear having the prophets and imams being ashamed of you, if you fear being punished in the hellfire, if you fear not becoming a complete and perfect human being, if that's the fear that you have, any one of those fears, then you'll start to change your level of awareness in your daily life. That's what taqwa means. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So taqwa doesn't necessarily mean like an on and off switch. It's not that taqwa happens once you walk into the masjid and then all of a sudden now you're a muttaqi. No, taqwa is a whole state of being. It's a sixth sense that you have, which will bring me to my kind of example and analogy. So if you're not into Marvel, then this analogy won't make any sense to you. So you can tune out for the next few minutes if you want. Okay, so Spider-Man. What powers does Spider-Man have? He has, we can't say superhuman strength, but he has increased strength. He has increased agility, right? He can climb on walls, things like that. There's one power that most people who are even into Spider-Man, they always forget that he has. Right? What's the one power I didn't mention? When something dangerous is happening around him, what happens? Yeah, he has a spider sense, right? He says, my spider sense is tingling. So whenever something around him is awry, when there's some danger near, then he gets this feeling within him that something's happening, so he changes his level of awareness, right? And he reacts to a situation accordingly. Taqwa is the exact same thing. If we act like muttaqi individuals, if we have this ability of taqwa in us, it's that same thing. We have a sixth sense around us in every single moment of watching out for things which might damage our soul. So let me give some examples. Let's say you want to go buy a new car. Now most of us, if we're going to go out and buy a new car, what becomes the kind of contributing factors to making a decision between this car or that car? Maybe it's price point, right? Maybe we have a certain budget. Maybe you have a specific color in mind. Maybe you want, electric or a hybrid, or you enjoy killing the environment, so you want a gas guzzler, I don't know. Maybe you're looking at safety ratings. So all of these things could be in your mind. There are various different factors which you should look at. They're cool, they're good. But how many individuals are buying cars or looking to buy a certain kind of car with taqwa in their mind? So you're saying, okay, how can you be a muttaqi car shopper? How does that make sense? Say, okay. So when it comes to the decision of buying fabric seats, or choosing fabric versus leather, what do you choose? If you have some level of taqwa, then your sense will go off, your taqwa sense. You'll say, okay, so if I buy fabric seats, then yeah, maybe they'll be slightly less comfortable, maybe the quality won't be as nice. If I buy leather seats, then I have to deal with issues of najasa, especially in a place like Florida where it's raining constantly. If I'm getting wet and I'm sitting in the car and then I'm on my way to the masjid, is this something I have to consider or not? Somebody who's muttaqi will consider this. Somebody who's not, who's still stuck in the dunya, will only look at materialistic variables. If you're muttaqi, then other variables come in your mind and you'll be careful of those variables. Or maybe another one regarding khums, everybody's favorite topic, right? So, are you buying a car that's within your social status or not? If it's within your social status or below, then there's no khums on it, right? Because it's something that you can do within your means, you're fine. If it's outside of your means, even if you do need a car, but you buy something outside of your means. For example, and then this is just an example, right? Let's say you work part-time at Cold Stone, right? Like 20 hours a week. And then you go out and decide, I'm going to buy a Tesla. Well, okay, maybe that car's a little bit out of your price range. You can go and buy it if you want, but then you got to pay to play. You're going to have to pay khums on that. Whereas if somebody else, let's say who has a higher paying job, and it's normal for them, maybe let's say a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, whatever, the traditional brown people jobs, if that's what you get, then maybe it makes sense for you to buy a Tesla. People would expect you to buy something like that. Not that you have to, but you can, and you won't have to pay khums on it. So, what are we saying here? Taqwa is what? It starts with fear, but it's not the be-all and the end-all. Taqwa does not mean be scared of God. Taqwa means be afraid of not getting close to Allah. Be afraid of not becoming the perfect human being that we are destined to become. Be afraid of doing things that will keep you away from the Jannah that we are destined to go to, inshallah. Be afraid from doing things that, as a parent, might ruin our children. Be afraid of doing things as community members that will drive community members away. Be afraid of doing things that will break families apart. Be afraid of doing things as an educator that will make kids disinterested. All of these things, if they're there, then you'll have a sense of taqwa. You'll be more conscious of what you do. You'll be a more critical thinker. You'll do more research, and you'll be more humble. If you have that sense of taqwa in your mind, then you get Allah's protection. If you remember yesterday, last night in our program, We discussed this hadith, which is attributed to our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Where he says, Man i'tasama bitaqwillah, whoever sticks to God or tries to connect to God and seeks protection with God through what means? Bittaqwa. Tries to gain this taqwa, asamahullah. Allah will then come and start giving you these divine protection and this divine protection ability. Right? The insight that we discussed last night. So you want more willpower and spiritual strength and stamina to stop yourself from doing things which you know you shouldn't be doing? With taqwa is the way to do that. Build up your taqwa, and then Allah will kind of gift you and reward you with this divine protection. We ask Allah by the right of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad to give us true ma'rifah and understanding of this concept of taqwa. We ask Allah by the right of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad that with our increasing taqwa, we also increase our connection to the Ahlul Bayt, who are the greatest manifestations of taqwa. We ask Allah by the right of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad to increase the level of taqwa in our community and for us to help grow together, inshallah. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Inna a'ataynaka al-kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Inna shani'aka huwal abtar. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين الحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو غفور الرحيم سبحان من سبقت رحمته غضبه وبسط اليدين بالرحمة سبحان من لم يكلف نفسا إلا دون وسعها وأعفى عن السيئات ولم يجاز بها سبحان من لا يزداد على معاصي العباد إلا كرما وجودا وعلى كثرة الذنوب إلا عفوا وصفحا نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو العطوف على العباد بجوده والعواد على المذنبين بحلمه ونشهد أن محمدا نبيه وحبيبه سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين بعثه رحمة للعالمين صلى الله عليه وآله الداعين إلى سبيل الله بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة قادة الأمم وأولياء النعم ومعدن الرحمة اللهم صل على سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وعلى إمام المسلمين وقائد الغر المحجلين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله عليه وآله وعلى سيدة النساء العالمين وبدعة خاتم النبيين سيدتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله صلوات الله عليها وعلى الحسن المجتبى والحسين الشهيد بكربلاء وعلي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي عليهم الصلوات والسلام اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب الزمان ماحي آثار بدعة الطغيان هادم أبنية الشرك والنفاق حاصد فروع البغي والشقاق صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آبائه الكرام ما اتصلت الليالي والأيام اللهم عجل فرجه وسهل مخرجه واكحل ناظرنا بنظرة منا إليه واجعلنا من المستشهدين بين يديه صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Mu'mineen, mu'minat, brothers and sisters in Islam and Iman, salamun alaykum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Once again, we remind ourselves that taqwa is the central core for what we need to find ourselves under divine protection. If we use this fear, this rational spiritual fear of causing harm to ourselves and to others, of fearing not becoming perfect individuals, then that should lead us, if we have this fear, this should lead us to improving our lives. to researching more, thinking more, becoming more passionate, more interested in things which will lead us to that perfection. Shaykh Mutahari rahmatullah alayh gives us an interesting point in one of his works to consider about taqwa. He says it's important to note that taqwa is not about performing religious obligations such as prayer and fasting. It's about living a muttaqi and taqwa-oriented life. You know, some of us, we see individuals in the community who are here constantly. They're here for every Jum'ah, congregational prayer. They have a tasbih in their hand, or they dress a certain way. You know, they know the fancy Islamic terminology, all that stuff. So we, based on the kind of superficial ideas, think that, oh, this is what a muttaqi person is. And only that. Whereas their akhlaq may not be good. Maybe their education level regarding Islam is no good. Maybe they're rude to community members. Maybe they're rude to their family. And of course, Allah, inshallah, protects us from seeing the defects in other individuals like that. But we have to be careful of the kind of barometer that we use to judge other individuals. Now, we're not saying be judgmental, but we're saying that taqwa is a central kind of idea and parameter and premise to look at other individuals in the community, especially ulama and speakers that come. If we want to invite people, if we want to speak to other people, if we want to get advice from people, taqwa should be a basic criteria. They should have that. If they don't, then whatever knowledge that they have is basically useless and not beneficial. So he continues. A person possessing taqwa abandons living an animalistic life and chooses to live a moral one. Though there are other definitions of it as well. And this is where I wanted to just focus on for the next 1 or 2 minutes. So in addition to there being a religious taqwa, which means again, you pay attention to the different ahkam, you make sure that you're pleasing Allah, you're taking care of the community, all of these things, that's there. But he says that there's also 2 other types, which are social and political taqwa. Social and political taqwa. And he says religious taqwa has a more superior and elevated status, and it is only on the basis of religion, meaning the basis of religious taqwa, that a person can create a well-grounded taqwa in himself. So sometimes we see individuals who, again, they pray, they fast, they do all the wajibat, they don't do anything which is haram, which is good. May Allah bless them, that's great. But maybe their sense of community affairs is off. Maybe their understanding of politics is out of whack. They have no idea what's going on in the world, right? They're politically naive. And I know that in this day and age, it's very, very difficult. It's very tough. There's so many different media outlets. There's so many different voices. There's different opinions. All these things are coming at us. The key here is this. If an individual is taqwa-oriented as far as his religion is concerned, he's connected to a religious source, meaning his identity is tawheedi. It's monotheistic. It's based on the one ideal that all Muslims have and share together, of connecting to Allah. And then of course after that, all of the anbiya, especially Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa alihi. And maintaining and continuing that connection to the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, then continuing that connection down to their companions, those whom they taught. That connection then continues down to our ulama and our urafa, who give us the information that we need so that we can handle some of the issues that happen in our communities. So if you see individuals who don't have that connection, then they may not be the best mentor. They may not be the best person to consult with when it comes to social and political issues. So education is necessary. And being smart, not being naive about who we seek to give our advice is very essential. Yes, confusing times, I know. But the more and more humility that we have, the more and more research we try to do, the more and more information we try to gather and act upon what we know, then inshallah over time, all those disagreements, all those confusions, all those ambiguous and vague things, Allah will come, as He said, He'll give us that divine protection, He'll give us basira and hikmah, insight and wisdom, and things will become clear for us, inshallah ta'ala. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. We pray to Allah by the right of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad to not just increase our religious taqwa, but also our social and political taqwa. We ask Allah by the right of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad that whenever we come across an issue, we can find the best way to solve it through a taqwa-oriented individual. Inshallah, we ask Allah by the right of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad to increase the level of taqwa in our community so we can grow together, being socially aware, politically aware, and more religiously aware, so that our central identity grows and grows in regards to Allah and His chosen, purified individuals. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ.